Very good afternoon and welcome back to Nove Mesto in the Czech Republic for the second race of the day, and this the 2013 Biathlon World Championship. Still one or two vacant seats, but they will fill over the next few minutes because we've still got 15 minutes before the women's sprint gets underway. What a fantastic race we had earlier on today. The big favourites coming through. Will it be the same in the women's? I've got 10 women who could possibly win this one. Mike Dixon, you might have other ideas.
I think there's up to 12 that could win, getting the shooting right.
Well, let's have a look at the schedule for the championships. The women's sprint obviously about to start. The pursuit tomorrow. The men go off at 1300. That's European time, midday in the UK. And of course, today's winner will come through to start first. The pursuit for the women, a little bit later on, but they only have 24 hours to recover after this afternoon's sprint. And then 2 days of rest before they enter the individuals. And in fact, the men getting a full 3 days of rest before their individual. And it's going to be interesting to see what the teams do. Do they carry on with some of the hard training, or do they just put their feet up and enjoy the atmosphere here in Nove Mesto in the hope that they'll be in the form of their lives for that 20-kilometre? Well, Mickey Grice has been with us throughout. We've heard his opinions. He backed Svensson and Fourcade for the sprint. Didn't do too badly on that occasion. Let's see what he thinks about the women's race. Here he is.
Also bei den Damen haben sie ja in den letzten Rennen die Putzminer Meckerrennen wirklich stabilisiert.
In the last race, the faster women were Kuzmina and Domrasheva and, of course, Tora Berger. Miriam Gusner, well, you never quite know what she's going to do. She'll always be amongst the favourites. If she gets it right, she can win it. If she makes mistakes, as she's become prone to do, then she could be in trouble. So, well, we don't get too much from that. Mikey's always putting his money on the favourites.
He is, and I think we could see a surprise today. Of course, Tora Berger, the way she looked in the mixed relay was incredible. We've got Zaiteva, definitely the best ski form that we've seen this season from her. But there's a chance for outsiders, maybe even Vitkova or Vera from Italy.
Time for a quick break. We'll be back with the start. Just over 10 minutes to go before the start of the women's sprint event. The distance 7.5 kilometres, and just like the men's 10k, they shoot twice and they have a penalty of 150 metres. So in many ways the penalty is more severe for the women, who should spend less time out on the snow, than it is for the men. So more important to hit all the targets, and of late those who've won have hit 10 out of 10. Well, we've had a chance to catch up with Katja Beer and Vincent Jay, two recently retired athletes. And this is what they had to say about the course here in Nove Mesto.
Well, Katja's saying, well, Vincent, you're just a little bit too fast for me.
Well, it's a really beautiful track, says Vincent. One of the keys here is that you have to keep the speed up all the time. You have lots of small dips and bumps, not so many big hills as there used to be.
Well, Katja's saying, I really hate all these bumps on this track. It's difficult. And the snow is just like flour. You have to keep your feet quite close together. It's so deep in the soft granule snow. What did you think about the fast downhills?
Vincent agrees, says the snow is like flour. It's very breakable on the surface. Some sections have icy blocks underneath, so if you don't pay attention, you're likely to end up in the trees. The tracks here in Nove Mesto are new for a couple of years now. They've been developing the tracks, redrawn them. Before it used to be long climbs and long fast downhills, but now it's just up and down, small valleys, little bumps, technical corners. It's a really rough track because you have to keep the effort up all the time. You lose so much time if you don't attack the bottom of the hills, and also if you don't attack the top of the hill as well. So the downhills are more technical than they used to be. And each time you come to the bottom of a downhill, you've got to be very, very quick to get working again. And with the high level of competition we have now in the men and the women's, if you want to get gold, you've got to push the whole way.
Well, Katja's saying that was one of the most demanding hills here in Nove Mesto, and I think I need to continue going around this lap because honestly, I'm not really in the best shape of my life. Well, that's definitely one of the steepest descents on the tracks here in Nove Mesto, and you can see yourself, when you're a bit faster, you carry a lot of speed down into the tunnel.
So Katja and Vincent out on the tracks earlier today, saying now we've got to get moving. We've got to get out of the commentary box before the race starts, and they obviously calling the shots for Eurosport. Katja with Ziggy Heinrich, and of course Vincent Jay in the French commentary box this afternoon. And it'd be interesting to see who they feel is going to come through. The German women will have their hopes, I guess, pinned on Miriam Gusner. Maybe Henkel can come through. Henkel's been very consistent, but hasn't really shown the speed that she can win a sprint. I think the minor nations, certainly Sukalova could come through for the Czech Republic. Kuzmina for Slovenia could come through to win it. It's certainly not quite as black and white as the men's race was.
It's not, and you know, I think today, although the range at the moment is very safe, the wind isn't going to play a large part, but Dorana Ber, she shoots so well, she just needs to find about 10 to 15 seconds ski time. Not a lot to ask over 24 minutes.
What I found interesting in the mixed relay, Mike, was the fact that some of the athletes were able to close gaps of 15-20 seconds on one lap alone. It's that sort of course that if you attack it, you go very quick, but it's also the sort of course that if you attack it, you're not going to have anything left for later on. So do they race this sensibly and take the first lap steady, or does someone like Mäkäräinen really go for broke early on to try and put pressure on those starting after her?
It's a strange one. I think you're right, you can pump up the pressure on one of your 3 laps. Vitkova there, 24-year-old. I think she can do well today, Vitkova.
Glazarina, Vilakina, Zaitseva, all in action for the Russian team. They haven't taken a medal yet, and they certainly would have expected to from the 2 first races. The French, 2 silvers to their name, the mixed relay, and of course Martin Fourcade. Daria Domracheva, the favourites with the bookies, and her ski speed looked pretty good, Mike. She looks relaxed as she checks in the rifle. I wonder whether it's going to be a big day for her.
We see it sometimes. Of course, she's the silver medalist from 1 year ago in Ruhpolding in this event. She hit 10 out of 10 on that day. If she can do the same again today, I think she can win this without a doubt.
Well, these are the fans just below the commentary boxes. I can tell you 92 steps to get up into the commentary box. It doesn't pay to be late in this game. Olga Zaitseva, she was very generous with her commiserations for Malishko in the mixed relay, but she wasn't happy. And that's an understatement. I wonder whether she'll be able to carry that through positively, make that a positive experience this afternoon, and attack this race. But most of all, Mike, make sure you hit the targets, because I think we both feel that 10 out of 10 is required to win. I think today it absolutely is, that the wind at the moment is safe. It changed in the men's race as it went on, but certainly Zaitseva, when you talk about hitting 10 out of 10 at a major championships, she's got to be in your top 3 for doing just that. And what about Gusner? She didn't hit the targets in the mixed relay, but more importantly, she was slower than the fastest across the tracks, whereas normally we'd expect her to take 15 seconds. We think, and nearly everyone thinks, that the Germans got the wax wrong for the mixed relay. In that case, we don't really have any idea of what sort of form she's in. Do you think this is a course where she can make up enough time to be able to afford 1, possibly 2 misses?
It should be, I think, Patrick. If we look at all the other courses where she's out skiing all the rest of the field by, 28 to 35, 40 seconds, this course profile suits her on paper. That's what she was doing before and after Christmas. But I think her form has dropped off. just a little. So I think she'll only be about top 5 ski times today.
Am I allowed to disagree with my expert?
Absolutely.
I just feel that the constant ups and downs and twists and turns makes this a more technical course than many that we get. Take Oberhof, for example, long climbs where someone with Gustner's VO2 can just plough away from everyone else. The technical turns here mean that you have to be a very efficient skier, and mentally you've got to be able to attack.
You need that mentality because you've got to keep the fight. And interesting, in the men's race, what was it? 2 minutes, I think it was 2 minutes 26, the top 60 athletes, they qualify for the pursuit, and that's about average time. So you're still getting from the strongest to the 60th the margins that we're getting normally at World Cups. Ruhpolding's always different. It's down to about 1 minute 50 there. So this track profile is the same as, say, Oberhof or some of the harder ones, in my opinion, and Pokljuka.
But if you look at Martin Fourcade, and we come back to that point where Alexis Berth took 15 seconds off the people leading him in the relay. If you attack the corners and you attack the top of the hills, there is a bundle of time to be gained. But you've got to be a very good technical skier.
And that's where Gustner in the mixed relay should have had the strength to do what she did before these championships, take 20-25 seconds off anybody. But she didn't. She wasn't able to on that day. Hopefully for her and for the German team, she can come back today and show that strength on her skis and show that she can hit the targets. She did a penalty loop with 8 shots, hitting 5 targets. She still went on the penalty loop in the mixed relay. Psychologically, that's got to hurt Gustner.
Yeah, and Gustner starts number 11 today. She is, of course, a former downhill skier. She switched from alpine to biathlon at the age of 16, which is very, very late, but she was instantly good, and I think the coaches were delighted that she got a smack in the face from a slalom pole, which made her change her mind about alpine skiing, and she's never looked back. There's Andrea Henkel, third in the World Cup standings overall. It's been a quiet season, but she's just so consistent. The Germans aren't going to think of dropping her from the team. Guaranteed place in the relay. It'd be nice to see Andrea Henkel get some success today.
Kuzmina,
fast, look good in the relay. I think might be worth a wager. Of course, she's the Olympic sprint champion, and I thought in the mixed relay she looked as good as she has done since she raced in Vancouver.
Yeah, she had the strength back. She had that attack state of mind that you need for the World Championships, pushing as hard as she possibly can. Certainly the best form we've seen her in.
Well, the Americans are here. So Studebaker, and we've got Susan Dunkley. She's certainly be an outsider. We tried to have a look at the bookies and see what odds they had for Dunkley, but she was nowhere to be seen. I don't think they think she's going to feature. You think she might possibly get a podium?
I really do. The way that Dunkley showed the strength of her skiing, the perfect shooting in the mixed relay, I think she's a contender today. She showed that last year, remember, coming 5th, I think, in the individual race in Ruhpolding at the World Champ. She raises her game when it matters most.
Kuzmina, of course, racing for Slovakia, not Slovenia, as I mentioned. Teja Gregorin goes for Slovenia in the bright yellow suit. She'll be the first out of the starting blocks in hopefully under a minute's time, provided nothing goes wrong from now. And the locals, well, Tomesova goes for the